Hello, Brad here, just to say we're super proud that the Friday 5pm podcast is sponsored by the Malt Miller, the UK's best home brew store.
We use the Malt Miller for all of our homebrew experiments, as well as tapping them up for advice and binging on their awesome YouTube channel all the time.
That's why whenever we release a homebrew video, we put a recipe kit live on the Malt Miller, so you can brew with the exact same amazing ingredients that we did. The same ingredients used by pro brewers.
So alongside the Malt Miller's nitro-flushed hops, cold-stored yeast and milled-to-order malts, you can pick up recipe kits for our 5 Points Best Bitter, Russian River West Coast IPA, and now the fastest beer in the world, a hazy session IPA that goes from grain to glass in less than 48 hours.
Sign up to their newsletter at tinyurl.com/Malt Miller to get 5% off your first order. With the Malt Miller's amazing customer service and Johnny's 48-hour recipe, you could order the ingredients on a Monday and be drinking the beer by the weekend.
Speaking of which, it's Friday.
It's 5pm.
So enjoy this week's Friday 5pm podcast. It's Friday, it's 5pm, and welcome to the now more multi-award-winning craft beer channel. Well, we haven't won any awards for the podcast, but our videos have won more awards, haven't they, Bradley?
Sure have. Out in America, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, I woke up to the news. I didn't even clock that they'd actually announced it. I'd forgotten the date that they were announcing it, because it's not like in England where we have a sit-down dinner and get glammed up and dressed up for the letdown. They just go on Twitter and go, these guys have won. And we were one of them.
We were one of those guys. Well, two of those guys.
Two of those guys, yeah. So we won the, get this, the best technical broadcast.
The best techno broadcast. We're now techno DJs.
Well, we've done a lot of electronic music on our videos over our time with our man Otis McDonald.
Yeah.
But
that's true.
He'd be winning that award if that were the case. No, we've won best technical. Well, it says best technical podcast, but videos were allowed. So this is, this is the North American Guild of Beer Writers Awards, we should say. Of which
shout out.
I'm a member of that guild, any guild that will have me, to be honest. So I entered our homebrew episodes with WHC, where we brewed an IPK and tried to claim we invented that. Turns out lots of IPKs out there in the world. And also I entered our sort of brewery tour and collaboration video with Barron when we brewed not short shorts, but board shorts.
Nice.
So so that's what won the awards, and we even got feedback on what people thought of, what the judges thought of the content.
That's cool.
Which is interesting, because I entered a couple of categories in which we didn't win, and the feedback was far more positive about the things we didn't win than the one that we did win. But it's a really long thing they wrote, and I really appreciate the feedback, because not many awards do this, and it's super, super helpful. But it's a well-produced series that provides interesting technical information balanced with humour and a sense of fun.
Come on, that's what we're about.
Which I think is,
humour,
pretty much sums what
a
we're trying
sense
to
of
do.
fun, bit of technical from Johnny, and anyone who's technical that we get on. Lovely. That sums us up.
It was very nice, yeah. So that's only the second. We've not been as prolific in our wins with the American Guild of Beer Writers. So I'm pleased. It's interesting how I think Americans expect different things from the content that they consume. They want things really deep and long. The opening lines of most news articles in American newspapers is longer than most British articles on the same topic. And I think often we're dismissed a little bit for being a little bit more short form. But that we're certainly not short form anymore, certainly in this podcast. But yeah, I was really pleased that we managed to sort of cut through with humour and a sense of fun, as well as providing interesting technical information.
Yeah, it's good. We kind of made a bit of a joke of it, but it's pretty cool to be recognised by the American Guild there.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, everyone.
We'd have been up against some of the greatest technical writers in the drinks industry, let alone in the beer industry. So it's pretty amazing that we've managed to come out on top there. One of whom, I don't know whether they entered, was would have probably been Brewlosophy, one of my favourite podcasts and favourite websites. We reference them all the time in our videos when we do homebrew. But they gave a little shout out to my book, in their
Nice.
this week's episode. So I just want to give a big shout out to Brewlosophy. If you're a home brewer, go and follow that podcast, because there is no other podcast that goes more in depth onto specific processes, specific, I would say, misinformation. Homebrew is full of, well, we do that because it's always worked in the past. And the Brewlosophy crowd, shout out to Marshmallow. What am I talking about? Marshall. Do not stand for that, and that's what I love about what they do. They assume they know nothing and assume that everyone else knows nothing as well and start from scratch, and it's an awesome pod. So, yeah, we are the winners of that competition, and we will be the greatest technical broadcasters until roughly this time next year, when someone will take our crown.
Great. I'm going to put that on my business card. Greatest techno producer. Like, I don't know. Trying to think of any techno pioneers I know.
Yeah,
not
not
really
my
into
world.
the techno music that
No.
much. But yeah, sounds good.
Who'd have thought? But it's been a week of big news, even bigger news than us winning an award, isn't it?
I mean, it depends what news we're talking about. There's all sorts of news going on, Johnny. There's a Tory boy who's going around every constituency in the UK drinking pints in support of British pubs, asking for tax relief on the beers and food and stuff. Beer?
Well, I think food is
Alcohol.
already... Is food VAT free? I can't remember. No, maybe it's only if you
Yeah.
buy the constituent ingredients.
He wants the tax, the VAT off of beer in pubs, basically.
Yeah.
So he's done 27 constituencies, which I don't know how many constituencies there are.
About
But it doesn't sound like
650.
that. I was going to say, it's not that many, is it? It's not that impressive, really.
No,
But,
he's basically... What is he? He's about a 20th of the way.
Yeah, and he is conservative. Aid, I believe. I said we said we weren't maybe going to talk about this, but I've just brought it up anyway.
Yeah, you have, just straight out the gate.
His name is Jay Chan, and he's put Chan-servative as his sort of
Which
I
isn't
guess
even
how
a
he
pun.
how he sort of defined. I think it might be his gender preference. He's a Chan-servative or something. I don't know.
Jesus.
So yeah, Chan-servative. There you go. 27. All I'm going to say is Chan-servative. You need to drink some more pints, mate. That's not many pints, is it? 27 pints. That's not much.
Well, it depends. How
campaign
quickly is he
thus far.
travelling between these constituencies?
Don't know, but he needs to get a move on.
Right, okay. That's our
He needs
feedback.
to get a move on.
To a man,
Yeah.
to a man who probably politically we might disagree with quite vehemently, but we do agree on what needs to be done for pubs. I think that a VAT discount for beer would be hugely beneficial for many, many reasons, not just for the survival of pubs and breweries and also high streets, but also in terms of getting people out of their houses, off Netflix, away from crappy award-winning YouTube channels, and out there into the world chatting to their friends.
Indeed. Talking of chatting to their friends, Johnny, Tom Holland has been
Wait,
on.
is he your friend?
No, but he's been on Jimmy Fallon tonight, the Tonight Show, who he looks quite friendly with, and he's been pimping his new beer, his alcohol-free beer that he's launching in America, called Bero or Bero. We were
definitely
talking
Bero.
about this before.
I guess it's a pun on him being Spider-Man,
Bero.
right?
Yeah, I don't know. It's the branding is quite nice actually. It's quite luxe looking. Not a hint of Spider-Man. No Spidey senses going on here. It's all. So if I had to describe what it looks like, it's like 80s Gucci chic color palette. So maybe a little bit tobacco advertising from the 80s as well. It's kind of cool. It's gold, half a gold can, half a deep Gucci green can, like British Racing green can, and they're all like non-alcoholic range of beers. So he's got like a Pilsner, a hazy IPA.
Wow, yeah, I'm looking at it now. I hadn't actually
and-
seen the cans. It's
Pretty sexy.
It's got a.
Yeah.
I would say like a trashy champagne released for a special occasion vibe.
Little bit. It's kind of it edges on the line between like quite classy, and it could tip over into something a little bit trashy.
A little
but
bit blingy, try hard. Yeah.
the font use is pretty nice. I must say, I do like it. I don't know if are you looking at the bounty hunters thing that I sent you. That's like an advertising thing on Instagram. Is that what you're referring to when you're looking at the packaging?
No, I'm just looking at images
Okay.
on Google Images.
Because there's like a sheet of how they lay out the typography, and I must say, Johnny, it looks a lot like my typography implementation on Keep Cask Alive. It's very, very similar. They're mixing a kind of calligraphic font with quite a bold serif font, which is what I did on our kind of branding for Keep Cask Alive.
Huh.
So we're in good company, sort of. But I don't know. What do you think about it, Johnny? Obviously, he's got a massive influence, being such a famous person. I must say, the video I've seen, the advertising campaign that they've put together for it, again looks a bit like a Ralph. I would say it looks like a Ralph Lauren advert, full of like really beautiful people, sun-kissed location, playing tennis in a sort of country idyll. They're all wearing like polo shirts, and drinking beero in the sunshine. Classic sort of 70s Mercedes they're kind of hanging out in. It's dead cool looking, you know? It's aspirational. They look like they're loaded, and he's doing a bit of a George Michael in a swimming pool, in his glasses, sort of jumping out from under the water, pulling a can from the side. It's very what was that video? Was it Club Tropicana? It's a little bit Club Tropicana meets Ralph Lauren advert. Yeah, that's what I make of it. But what do you think about? Do you think we obviously we don't know what it tastes like 'cause it's not even in the UK. It's just in America.
Yeah, I mean, flavor aside, like it seems like a hell of a lot of budget has been thrown behind it. So I've
Yeah.
just been doing some digging as to who is actually behind this. Because all respect to Tom Holland, he's the face of it. I doubt
Yeah.
he's much more. So the person behind it is a guy called John Herman,
Mm.
who seems to have been behind a company called, is previously president of Nutrabolt.
Why do I know that name?
the
What's Nutri?
I think you're thinking of
NutriBullet?
NutriBullet. Yeah, I think it's different.
You're saying NutriBolt.
Yeah,
Right, okay.
yeah. So they make C4 energy drink.
Never heard of it. C4 is an explosive, I know that. But I don't know
Yes.
about C4 energy drink.
It's essentially this guy clearly knows what he's doing with
Yeah.
branding horrible liquids.
Yeah, okay.
And
Well, we don't know it's horrible, Johnny.
what I
We
would,
can't say it's horrible.
no,
at
it's
this
definitely
point,
going to
but
be
yeah.
horrible because this will be a contract brewed. I
Yeah,
would
yeah.
imagine it's being made by somebody like, well, it might be Athletic if they've done their research, who are making fairly decent low alcohol beers in huge scale. But this, I mean, I hate everything to do with this.
Oh, dear.
I dislike the way that the story's being told about him being sober. I dislike
Yeah.
the brand. I don't dislike the branding. The branding
No.
in the right place would be very refined and cool. But
Yeah.
if you're drinking low alcohol beer,
Yeah.
the last thing you want is to feel like you're doing something really special. I don't understand, whether you drink or whether you don't drink. When you're having a low alcohol beer, it just feels even more fake if you're going to pretend that this is some beautiful, artisanal, and aspirational drink.
Yeah.
Just
I mean,
lying
I've
to
seen
yourself for a second time.
I've seen a few of these brands in the States that they're kind of this. They're more like like a luxury perfume or a champagne sort of branding to stuff to make it more marketable to potentially people that don't drink beer, right? Obviously he's going on, or they're going after the sort of no and low alcohol thing, but also I think probably people that don't drink beer, they're trying to market towards aspirational stuff. But I'm in agreement with you. I don't like the way he's talking about it and like as a person marketing it on stuff like on the Jimmy Fallon show, whatever his name is. He's talking about being sober, and which is great. That's great for him or whatever. But it sounds like he's kind of implying like alcohol is a problem to him. I don't know if it was, but it's quite standing on his box about like you should drink this because then you won't have problems with alcohol. That was kind of how I interpreted it. Don't know if I've just said something really controversial there, Johnny.
I don't know. I mean, it's not so much sort of any kind of preaching. It's more this idea that. So he says like he there was a quote somewhere where he said like I want to do something that sort of stands by my values, and his values are being sober. And I think that that's not a very sensible approach to marketing a beer that presumably will be consumed by both drinkers and non-drinkers. Yeah. I think as soon as you get too worthy about a low alcohol brand and you start to purely talk about sobriety, you pigeonhole your brand and you alienate anybody that doesn't share those values.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm trying to say is it's by leaning into the sobriety thing, it's like, well, if you are, sober and you're almost framing yourself like alcohol is a problem in your life, then you probably shouldn't drink anything that's remotely beer-like, right?
Yeah,
if you're trying
potentially, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I just think, I think there's a lot of disconnected thinking going on there with both their approach to it and the branding of it as well. Hey Beer Geeks, Johnny here. Just in case I haven't mentioned it enough on the podcast, approached you in the street or accosted you in your own home, I thought I'd make a quick advert about my new book, The Meaning of Beer. This travel book follows me on a 3-year adventure around the world to discover the surprising ways in which beer has helped build and shape the world. From inspiring the pyramids to funding monasticism, from inventing the fridge to changing modern medicine, and from lubricating the Nazi Party's first meeting to potentially solving climate change, with lots more in between. It's already been called enlightening by the amazing Ollie Smith and one of the most important books ever written about beer by fellow beer writer Mark Dredge, and it's available for pre-order now in hardback, ebook and audiobook for its release on the 7th of November 2024. Now back to the pod.
So he should have just gone Spider-Man then, is what we're both in agreement.
Spider-Man low alc. Yeah, I think that would have been a stronger, better selling
web fluid.
Thing. I mean, the more I dig into this, the more interesting it gets, actually. So, it seems that the head brewer for this, the person that's led the liquid side, is Grant Wood, who I don't know whether he's still at Sam Adams. Used to be at Sam Adams.
Okay.
Where this beer is being made, I'm not entirely sure, but that seems to be the sort of the person driving the actual brewing side of it, which I'd imagine is probably a good sign for the liquid itself. And it seems to have lots of different styles like lagers and hazy IPAs and stuff like that. So it feels like there's a lot of clever people involved.
Yeah,
but I still think they've kind of got it wrong.
You could almost say he's assembled some sort of Avenger type crew, right?
Nice.
Of like super beer superheroes, if you will, to join his team of sobriety fighting beer lovers. So what would you, if you were a sober beer warrior, I don't even know what I'm saying, Johnny. I'm going off on one too much here. But they're the Avengers, aren't they? They're the Beer Avengers, the Beer Avengers. Who would you be? What would be your Avengers name if you were in the Marvel universe?
Oh my God, you're asking me to...
Or DC universe. It's up to you.
I don't know the difference.
DC is Batman and all that kind of stuff, and obviously Aquaman, all that pony stuff.
Obviously, yeah.
And then Marvel is everything else. It's owned by Disney now, but it's like
So
the multiverse
am I
and all that
am I
shit.
supposed to make up a hero? Or am I supposed to choose
Yeah.
one from the catalogue?
Either. You could do whichever one you feel most comfortable with.
I watched a Captain America film once. I'll be him.
Okay, he's pretty cool, isn't he? Is he actually Canadian? Chris Evans, I'm not sure. I've got a feeling he's Canadian.
I watched
I
it on
saw
a
he's
plane. I
doing-
wasn't really sure what I was watching, to be honest. I've got no clue.
He's doing an advert for Audi motor cars at the moment.
Huh.
And I thought, well, okay, fair enough. But, he's Captain America and he's advertising. He should be advertising American cars, surely. Not
yeah. And
not a German brand.
surely cars from the Second World War? First World? Second?
Well,
I can't remember which war he was in.
second. No, yeah, Second World War, yeah. He's fighting Hydra, the imaginary sort of advanced. Well, they were Mengele type dudes that experimented on people and all this sort of stuff, but they were doing it to try and create super soldiers in Marvel universe or whatever.
I'm reading more into this. So the process they've used, they've said a naturally selected yeast. So I presume that means
wild yeast.
Well, I mean that
naturally selected from their jar that they had in cold storage.
Yes,
in their
it
lab.
will be that. I presume naturally selected means they're saying it's not GMO. So it's
okay.
It's not one that's been modified to not produce alcohol. It is an original of nature yeast that stops fermentation at 0.4%. It's barely a yeast. This process avoids removing the alcohol and preserves the soul of the beer, Bradley.
Dude, that is what it's all about. Preserving the soul of the
Gotta
beer.
Preserve the soul of the beer. Every German brewmaster just pricked up their ears and went, sorry, what? So you're claiming we've been doing it wrong, and the fact that 1 in 8 German beers sold is a low alcohol beer means we still got it wrong. Oh, I don't know. I know I'm hugely cynical about these things, but
yeah,
it strikes me as more money than sense, and I feel like the Avengers might lose this one.
Do you think it's going to be bigger or smaller than the Hulk Hogan beer? That's the sort of, he's like pro-Trump.
Is it?
I can't even remember what it's called, American beer or something. I think so.
Around?
Yeah. I'm going to try and get one when I'm there. Yeah.
I mean, Beero's going to survive because they're going to have the bump from Tom Holland, and then it's probably going to be an okay product, so it's going to get some repurchasing. But then I think they're going to realise that I don't know this for sure, but I would imagine that brand loyalty in the low alcohol beer space is pretty minimal because it's so hard. It's so hard to find your favourite brand of low alcohol beer because they're all stocked. Like in the UK, all the supermarkets carry different brands. Brands are constantly coming and going from the shelves, so you find one and then it's gone, or you find one and they have to move where they're contracting it and it goes to shit. So I would imagine that after a couple of rebuys, people are going to move on.
Well,
to a beer probably where the soul has been distracted and you get significantly more consistent results.
Yes.
We've given Tom Holland so much time when there's a much more important story we should be discussing.
Let's do it.
Which is the SIBA, Society of Independent Brewers, have released this week their own independent seal.
Yes.
So there's one in the States already, which is sort of owned by the Brewers Association. And we've never really had one in the UK. We've had attempts at it. We've had associations formed as an attempt to sort of organise small independent brewers. But this is the first one where, because I think SIBA's cachet, SIBA's reach...
Yeah, they carry some gravitas, don't they?
Yeah.
I actually said to you months and months ago, I'd like to do this as a campaign. And I think you said, we've got enough on our plate, we'll keep Cask alive. But I said, we should come up with an indie mark.
Yeah, well,
I didn't say the word indie, but, a mark.
I also had the same response that I had to SIBA when they came to us asking if we throw our weight behind it.
Yeah.
Which is that independence is not a goal, it is a means to the goal. The goal is ethical business. So I asked them when they came to us, I said to them, do you have a code of conduct which the breweries using this seal will have to sign up to? And the answer was basically no.
Yeah, that's tough.
So many of these breweries that during the Me Too movement in beer started by Brianne Allen, many of those could sign up to this and get a big marketing boon out of being small and independent, which people, I think, genuinely also consider ethical.
Yeah.
They could get that marketing boost when they don't deserve it. And actually, increasingly, as I've gone through my beer journey, I've got to the point where I would much rather drink an ethical large brewery beer than, say, I'm trying to think of one of the Modern Times, Tired Hands, any of those brands. I'd rather drink a pint of Asahi than touch those brands. And I think that I love what Zebra are doing, but I think they've absolutely missed the most important thing about this, which is saying we're not just small breweries, we're ethical breweries. And there is, when they did reply, they did say, if you're a SEBA member, there's codes of conduct there. If you work for SEBA, there's a code of conduct there. I was like, but no, I want it out there in the world saying that if you want to use this seal, which will attract people to buy your beer because they think they're supporting some lovely small people, not small people, lovely people at a small business, then you absolutely have to put ethics at the core of it, not the independence. Although obviously, because it's an independent seal, it will be, but you can't have one without the other, because I think they're meaningless if they are.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
But it is a great step in the right direction, and if they introduce a code of conduct, we will throw our formidable award-winning weight behind it.
SEBA hosting, SEBA award-winning.
Mm-hmm.
No, not SEBA award-winning, but SEBA hosting.
No, we never won a SEBA award, but we did host it 1 year, just before COVID.
Yeah. Well, just COVID super spreader event.
Yeah, pretty much was. Although we didn't really know it at the time. It was in the naive couple of weeks before reality hit. But yeah, so they've made a huge splash with it, which is great. And definitely they backed it up with a not a campaign, what's the word? A survey.
Yes.
In which there were some pretty shocking statistics about what people believe is independent and what people don't.
Yeah.
Which I think there's something like 75%
I've got
of those.
a stat.
Oh, go on, hit me with them.
Corporate branding has been so effective that 40% of those surveyed thought that neck oil, brewed by Heineken-owned Beavertown, was independent, higher than genuinely standalone breweries such as Vocation, Fine Ales, and 5 Points.
Who can look at the branding of Fine Ales or 5 Points and think, yeah, a macro brewery's had something to do with that?
Yeah.
That is kind of wild.
I mean, I would say that 5 Points as the branding's really good in a similar way to Camden. The branding is very good, very bold, just very typographic, kind of in a sort of Brooklyn lager kind of way. It's kind of got something to it like that, where you could go, oh, maybe that is, maybe if you didn't know who 5 Points were, you might be thinking they're bigger than they are.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, they are. They are pretty big.
They're pretty big.
25,000 heckish, I think.
Yeah.
A large, small brewery. But I mean, they've always had that branding, haven't they? Since they were a couple of hundred heck. Whereas, I guess Beavertown looks, in the absolute best way, kind of not amateur. That's completely wrong. What's the word?
There's a little bit of irreverence to their thing. It feels playful
and individualistic. Like it hasn't gone through a focus group.
Yeah,
it's very much Nick's vision.
Exactly. It's got Nick. Is it Dwyer, isn't it? Nick Dwyer.
Yeah.
It's got his soul kind of artistic personality across the whole brand, which has really carried them a long way, I think. Yeah,
and I think probably was a lot to do with why they were snapped up and were one of the last breweries snapped up as well before sort of the bubble burst, and we realised that buying craft breweries was a terrible investment usually.
Yeah.
So that's big news. I think if that survey, the results of that are pretty shocking, and it's clearly something that needs to be fixed. And kudos to SEBA for doing that and for investing a lot of time and money into doing that. Yeah. But we think. Well, sorry, I think the ethics were missed off the original pitch. But now in the UK, increasingly, obviously, it will take a while to roll out because breweries won't have their cans and their bottles ready stamped. So it will take a little while probably before we start to see it in the trade. But yeah, there will be an independent seal for pretty much the first time in the UK, which is very cool.
Very cool. Very cool. Well done, Seba.
Yeah. I've got a little bit of fun news to throw your way.
Go on then.
So obviously there's important beer news that we're aware of, and just before we film, Brad and I dig into the absolute mud that is the internet to find some other exciting stories we might not have heard of. And this headline grabbed me.
Mm-hmm.
It's beer can at Derby City Council meeting sparks red faces and blame game.
Oh, hello.
So there is footage of, because I guess all their meetings are recorded, footage of a Derby City Council meeting where there's just a can, and believe it or not, it's Madri, right next to Councillor. Oh, it's hard to tell at the resolution. Councillor Kim, Councillor something short with a K.
Yeah.
Just at his desk by his notes.
Why is it shocking?
Well, what do you mean? So the Derby Council are drinking during their council meetings.
I mean, I'm not surprised.
No, I mean, if I was a council person, I would probably be driven to drink as well.
It's surprising that they took a photo. They allowed it to be a photo taken while they were drunk on the job. But there you go.
Whoa! Let's not get ourselves in legal trouble. I'm not sure he's drunk on the job, and also everybody denies that it was their can.
Oh, okay.
So it's worth.
I see.
Yeah, Councillor Graves has denied it was his.
Yeah.
And he's the one next to whichever councillor this is, the other councillor whose seat is empty. So it is a real whodunit. But the other thing that kind of tickled me is obviously, they shouldn't be drinking at council meetings. Particularly, they shouldn't be drinking Madri in council meetings. But the thing that makes me laugh is, so for the meaning of beer, I write about the number of bars and pubs and restaurants serving alcohol that there are in the Houses of Parliament.
Yeah.
The number of times that the police have been called to those bars to break up fights is quite remarkable. We know that alcohol is at the very heart of government. It's at the very heart of lobbying. It's at the very heart of, constantly deals are being done by politicians, council workers, all kinds of stuff in pubs. I find it odd, the sudden puritanism, because, I don't know, because their chairs swivel and they're at a pine desk. Like, why is this news when probably half of the laws written in this world, were compromised over, talked over, agreed over in a pub and then voted on in the Houses of Parliament only after people have been sat in strangers' bar drinking 2 or 3 pints, waiting for that bell to ring and going and voting?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I guess it just feels wrong, right? People are maybe jealous. They're like, well, I can't have a drink at my desk.
Yeah, that's what they're like. They're all like, oh, you think people publicly? I thought you meant other council people being. I wish I thought that.
We're paying their wages as well. They're public servants. So
well, council people, I don't think you get paid to be on a council. You just get like expenses and stuff.
What are you saying? They're like an honorary member. What are you saying? They're not public servants.
Well, they are, but I don't think we're paying their wages. I'm not sure they're paid.
What if you work for a council?
If you're a councilman or a councillor, I don't think you get paid.
If you've got a job for the council, I don't know about those specific jobs. There are
if you're an
hundreds
elected
and
councillor,
thousands of people.
I don't think you're paid.
Oh,
if you work for the council, I think
they
you
will. I think elected councillors are definitely charging their expenses, which we're paying for. So we bought that Madri for them, Johnny.
Well, you reckon they're expensing it?
Yeah, of course they are.
But so are the MPs in Parliament as they drink before they make their vote.
I know.
And I'm all for it.
I didn't say I liked it. But, yeah. So I think that's why people might be outraged, because they think, well, I'm paying your wages, mate, and you shouldn't be drinking a beer while you're trying to decide important stuff that affects me. But, yeah, the reality is these people are probably drinking a lot of lager in their bars and talking business. Obviously, greasing their wheels and making the wheels of justice and all that turn a little bit faster, maybe. But who knows? I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I haven't seen the photo, Johnny, so I've got no frame of reference.
I'm not sure the photo is going to illuminate this any further. It is just a council desk with a man near it and a can of Madri on it.
And what did you see this in? Sorry, was this a national newspaper or something?
Oh, God, no. No, I mean, no. No, God, no. I think
Did you just bring this up because you wanted to talk about your book?
No, actually, the main reason I brought it up, I thought it was a fascinating topic. Clearly, I'm wrong.
Okay.
The other reason I brought it up is because it's quite a good link to where I've been this week.
Yes.
Because I did travel through Derby on the way to Burton-on-Trent.
Nice, yes. How was it?
Well, I mean, if you've ever been to Burton-on-Trent, you'll know mostly how it was, which is...
Yes, I have.
It's essentially a corridor of buildings alongside a train track that's been, brutally knocked down and ruined by years of neglect, probably councilmen drinking, and I guess developers buying up land and then doing nothing with it.
Probably backhanded councilman deals, I reckon.
I mean, it is kind of amazing. So we had quite a fleeting visit when we went there to film the Meantime documentary. So I've been there a couple of other times, but this time was the first time where I just had a couple of hours. I got up in the morning. I didn't need to be in till 9, so I just walked around Burton. And the number of beautiful old buildings that have basically been reclaimed by nature is truly shocking.
Are these sort of like off of the main road then? Are these kind of like...
No, some of these are just on the high
waterways?
street.
Oh, just on the high street?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can just be walking along and you'll find, so the old Bass Pump House, which would have been bringing up water from the well where the famous Burton water came from. Yeah. It's just off of a roundabout on the way into the centre of town. 4 minutes walk from the centre of town. It is surrounded by those crappy, lightweight fencing. It has... there's some kind of tower, which I guess must have had a cog at the top and been a big sort of pulley system, is entirely covered in ivy. It looks like something out of The Last of Us, the video game. And the TV show. It's properly bonkers that this is in the centre of what, is not a small town, and obviously is a town so steeped in brewing history that it should really be one of the UK's best tourist destinations, previously home to some of the biggest breweries in the world, still home to Coors and brewer of many, many beers, including actually probably the can of Madri, because I think it's the kegs are at Tadcaster and the cans and bottles. Keeps coming back to Madri. There's some conspiracy around Madri that I'm working on. I don't know where it goes or where it starts, but there's something. So it is just truly depressing as somebody who's aware of what these buildings are, or even if you're not really. Truly depressing to see that. However, I was there for one of the cultural things that has endured since the days of Britain's brewing heyday, which was the production of Isinglass.
That is cool.
Can you tell me what you think Isinglass is? What you think of when I say it?
Well, I think it is made from the swim bladder of a fish, dried out, and it has properties that basically take the flocculants, the kind of particulate matter that floats around in beer, and kind of attracts it towards it and sucks it in. So it kind of has a magical quality that can deflocculate beer and clarify beer with a product, which I don't know how it's delivered, if it's a powder or a tablet. I believe maybe possibly both. It's various different sort of circumstances, but it's certainly a natural product, and I know that it's sort of controversial in some people's eyes because it's not vegan.
It's not vegetarian.
It's not vegetarian.
Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty good summary of what Isinglass is, and it's increasingly odd to me that it has this terrible reputation, because one of the great comparisons that was made to me was rennet in cheese.
Yeah.
Obviously vegetarians take issue with that, but nobody who eats meat really cares. Whereas when it comes to beer, we're all like, I don't want that in my beer.
Yeah, I mean, rennet, I guess that's an enzyme, isn't it? It's like something from a stomach, isn't it? That has a way of, does it curdle the whey or something, and it makes it turns it into cheese, doesn't it? Basically,
It divides the
milk into
curds
cheese.
and the whey. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, it's something very much from inside of an animal, which is a natural product that does something in an animal, and we use it in a food product to do something else. And yeah, like you're saying, no one's outraged really about that. To the same extent, maybe.
No, I think the distinction is like non-vegetarians seem to be disgusted by the use of isinglass, whereas non-vegetarians don't mind rennet. It's just like, I don't want to drink some beer that's got fish in it. I get sounds disgusting, but from what we've learned and what we'll be telling as part of Keep Cask Alive 2 in this episode is just how it's essentially the fifth ingredient of cask ale. It's got this incredible history, incredible story. There were racehorses, there were famous steam trains named after isinglass. It was that big a business. It was used in the same way that, like gelatin, which is also an animal product, is used to make sweets and things like that. You could also use isinglass for that, and it has a rich history of that. But it's ended up in beer as this sort of unique, amazing, all it is collagen, which, people smear on their faces and drink to try and keep themselves young.
I think people inject collagen as well, don't they?
Yeah. I mean, we use collagen all the time, and it comes from lots of different sources. But in particular, fish, or I should say, tropical fish collagen, is amazing at clarifying beer, and we still haven't found a better way of doing it. In fact, they've had studies done. So we were at AB Vickers, which is owned by Lallemand, and AB Vickers are one of the two producers of isinglass in the UK now. And they said, they've done studies where filtration has been less effective at clarifying a beer than isinglass.
No way. So like putting it through those huge expensive plates that you get in breweries sometimes.
Yep.
Wow, that's nuts, man.
And in addition to that, the collagen, the isinglass will only attract essentially yeast and protein molecules, so it's to do with the negative and positive charges, whereas filtration obviously takes anything of a certain size. So you can also start to take away stuff that you might not have wanted to take, whereas that doesn't happen with isinglass. So, I mean, we dig in. So it was a fascinating 2 days where I interviewed lots of people and saw the process and talked about the history of it and the application of it. And then we're going to go to hopefully Batham's. We're hoping that's going to come off to see, what lengths a brewer goes to on top of the isinglass to make sort of the perfect, frothy topped, perfectly crystal clear pint of cask. But yeah, I've had my mind kind of not changed. I've never had big issues with isinglass. My philosophy has always been, if you don't have to use an animal product, why would you? But to some extent now, I'm like, well, I think you kind of have to. Or I certainly have no issues with it. I know there are lots of breweries, I think including 5 Points, who are in the episode before that, who used the vegetarian vegan clarification, and their beers are often beautiful and bright. But it's, I think it's unfairly maligned.
Well, I wasn't able to make it, Johnny, but I kind of agree. I didn't really have a problem with it anyway, I think, but I can understand why people who are vegan and maybe vegetarians as well wouldn't like the idea of it in something they're drinking, having an animal product. So I can sort of see it from both angles, but when you put it like that there's actually nothing that does an equally good job, and maybe filtration that takes things out, flavors potentially, and body and all the rest of it, other things that imbue the liquid with deliciousness. If you're stripping those away by using another process or another product, then isinglass obviously still has a place in the modern world, and it's going to be absolutely fascinating to see the history of it, because like you say, it was like people made fortunes out of isinglass, didn't they?
Yeah, they're full-on isinglass barons.
Yeah. So it's like, it's something I sort of view it quite antiquated terms, and I didn't have a real appreciation of obviously I knew it was significant, but the significance on the world stage and the amount of money that it brought into these people's pockets that were producing it and selling it into the massive beer industry in the Victorian era and going forward, it's kind of an amazing story, I imagine, that you've kind of been let into there.
I hope so. And I will also say that all the folk that I interviewed were also great on camera, which helps.
Great.
They were
help.
really entertaining and interesting people, and I'm quite excited about this section of Keep Cask Alive. And I think people might be surprised to hear that one of my favourite interviews is about Isinglass. Anyway, we are rapidly. It's getting dark out there, so it's time to move on to this week's video, which is a topic we've covered quite a few times on the Craft Beer channel. Indeed, has covered just about every history book around beer that's ever been written, and indeed on multiple other YouTube channels and YouTube videos. So we tried as much as possible to tell unique stories, as we told sort of the story of the creation of pale lager as we know it today, and also the incredible impact that had on culture, on politics, and indeed on national identity in Central Europe and eventually in America. And we'll be telling that story a bit further in next week's episode. But it sparked off lots and lots of comments, this particular video. It feels like this is a particular moment in history that people either know a lot about or like to think they know a lot about.
Indeedy. Go on, Johnny.
I was going to say, did you learn anything during the video that you had no idea about, or is it sort of already out there?
I guess having been on the tours in both of these amazing brewing towns, I kind of knew a lot of it, I would say. But it's just incredible. It's an incredible beer legacy that the Czechs have, and I just think it's some of the best beer you can drink in the world, and it has been for such a long time, Johnny, that it truly did change everything. There aren't that many beers that can say that.
Yeah, we frequently talk about, laugh at people who sort of go, oh, I like beer that tastes like beer. And I often respond that, it's only tasted like that for a little while. This is the advent of that, 1840, well, 1839 maybe with Sedelmeier and Dreher. But yeah, it's that period where what we consider beer today is created. And that's how powerful a moment it was, because it changed what we considered beer was. One of the most popular and important foodstuffs on the planet got redefined in a space of 5 years if you're talking Central Europe, but a couple of decades if we're talking the rest of the world. Talking about how doing those tours and they're some of the best beers you could ever drink. We had a great comment from Dan Paul 13, who said the SARS hop aroma and flavour from a fresh draft Pilsner Urquell is truly life changing and beer affirming. Beer affirming. I like that. Sadly, the hop aroma and flavour dissipates so quickly, especially in cans and bottles, and most people never will. Most people have never or will never get to try the way the beer is meant to taste. And that is so true. There's a lot of people, I think, that still don't think they like Czech lager or pale lager, and a lot of people that just dismiss it and won't even try it. And I think anybody that goes to the Czech Republic and has an unpasteurized tank pour of Budvar or Pilsner Urquell will have, or any of the hundreds of small lager producers in the Czech Republic will have their brain melted by just how much aroma and flavour there is in these small, crispy little beers.
Indeedy. We had a comment from Il Corvo. It's a brilliant retelling of the story of Budvar. If only we in England had found ways to retain our macro beer culture.
Indeed. Exactly.
Right?
Feeds back
what
into
we were
Burton.
just talking about.
We tore it all down.
Man. Yeah. And someone else did say, Viznui said you guys should give your thoughts on Tom Holland's Beero. So we did. Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed my rant. I apologise. So really enjoyed lots of the comments in here. Lots of people also saying, I'm going to give Pilsner Urquell another go. I presume these are people that are drinking it from can, where it's not quite the same. But it is, honestly, if somebody said to me, I'm going on one beer trip in my life, what should I do? I would probably say do Munich, Pilsen, Prague. Do that line, because it genuinely is, from a beer perspective, I think the best beer you're going to drink.
Yeah. Agreed.
But I mean, that does also depend on personal taste, of course. So the other thing that we tapped into, sort of there were lots of people who wanted to talk about the history of it, and because it's such an important moment in history, but also because it's beer, and beer history is always mythologized, it's always misunderstood, it's always exaggerated. There's lots of opinion masquerading as history, and I will include myself in that. If I've learned anything from writing this last book, it's that history is very much interpreted. It's not fact. You have a handful of facts from which you have to interpret what you think happened. So I am absolutely not saying that I am correct, but there have been some slightly mad comments coming in from various guises and various people, all of whom seem to have lots of numbers at the end of their usernames. We've had JF3457 claiming that the Czech Pilsner is very much a Bavarian invention.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Which I can't quite get my head around, other than the fact that Joseph Grohl was a Bavarian. But the ingredients were Czech. The brewery was owned by the Czechs. It was in the Czech Republic. The technology they used that made it so different, made it pale, was British. So I feel like there might be some kind of personal opinion in there. I don't know. I don't want to go too deep into it, but definitely some dismissiveness of the Czech Republic as a nation. Also saying Czech identity at the time had nothing to do with speaking the Slavic language. I do have endless evidence to the contrary, thanks to Budvar working very hard with me on this and giving me all the information I could possibly need. Another one, and this one I have no clue. I don't know who is sort of right here, but I had a long, in-depth conversation with Simi822, who firstly was very angry that we didn't mention Anton Dreher and Gabriel Sedelmeier in this week's episode, to which I just replied, well, we did last week as we told the story of Spartan. So that then, I think, calmed Simi822 down, and we had a much more involving and interesting conversation around who was the real hero, Gabriel Sedelmeier or Anton Dreher. And I've not really come across much evidence that Anton Dreher was sort of the brains of the duo. Not to say that he wasn't, and he had a huge effect on lots of countries. You know, the Vienna Lager was an incredibly influential beer style, and you know, that was him and his influence and his good work in spreading the technology and the recipes and the approach to brewing these beers. But to, you know, Gabriel Sedelmeier, you know, his name is on the patents of the original fridge. He gave the original lager yeast that Carlsberg ended up using, which was then isolated and became, you know, the lager yeast that most breweries use now, was from Sedelmeier and from Spartan. So I would love to hear from anybody who has lots more stories about Anton Dreher. I already know who I should go to, and that's Andreas Krenmeyer, who helped me with the book. But anybody else got anything? I'm fascinated to hear it. Make sure you watch the video beforehand before you wade in. But yeah, so lots of great comments in the comment section. If you folks want to go back and read through some of those, there's a lot of gold, and a lot of people calling my history bullshit.
Whoa, we're always going to get that. I've got a couple of ones about the thumbnail, Johnny.
Okay,
this is controversial. Simon8212. Horrendous AI thumbnail. Unless you need it to feed the algorithm, please don't. And he's got a little emoji of a face with his hands covering his eyes.
Oh, he's sad.
And then Biscuit Jeff, great name, Biscuit Jeff. My cat's called Jeff. Strong thumbnail action. Who's the artist? The artist is Adobe.
I presumed that was a facetious comment.
Yeah. So this is an interesting one, guys, because I've never done an AI. I'm a graphic designer, and I look at AI and I worry. And they've just implemented a load of new stuff into the Adobe Design Suite, So this week, the way thumbnails usually work, me and Johnny, Johnny does the edits, and then we'll talk about titles together, talk about what might work best, and we usually try and have different words on the thumbnail to the actual title of the video. So we kind of try and work that out, and then work out which one of us should be on the thumbnail, what should be the hero kind of thing to it, and what the hook is. This week, Johnny was away, and there wasn't much steering going on other than we wanted it to feel a little bit like the last two in the series, which were kind of a little bit, can I say clickbaity, Johnny? I don't know if I can say clickbait.
No, that's fair.
But they're kind of, they ask a question which makes you want to get the answer, right? So how did beer build the pyramids, and all the rest of it? What a fridge has got to do with, the invention of fridge has got to do with brewing history and all the rest of it. So this week it was, try and create an image of a a kind of German looking man drinking a beautiful golden pint in a sort of historic setting that felt a little bit like a kind of advertisement from the years back. So I basically fed all of that into an AI thing, just because out of interest to see what it would happen, and it absolutely terrified me, Johnny, because I'm out of a job, which I've thought of for a while. But I fed it all these prompts, quite long prompts. I won't go into the prompts that I fed it, but you basically sort of give it a description of what you would like it to create, and you might feed it prompts as in like the style, whether it's a photorealistic thing or a kind of cartoony thing or anything in between, a cubist thing, all kinds of different art movements. And the first time round I tried it, I did photoreal images of men with beards, that we kind of agreed that we knew every single one of them that were generated.
We met all these hipster men.
It was wild. It's wild. And the worrying thing is, you pump this thing in, and it churns it out in literally 30 seconds. I had 3 photographic images generated of 3 guys that we've never met, but we've also met, that are definitely based on, other people's work and photographic resources, illustrations that have, been processed through it. People's intellectual property have gone through these machines, and they've trained them on them. And now it's got to the point where it's just put into Adobe Creative Suite software, and it'll churn out something that as people pointed out, it looks AI, but also it's pretty impressive. So I'm on the fence, Johnny. I mean, I've never done this before on a thumb. I imagine this won't be the last time I use it, but there is a disconnect for me in how easy it is, and obviously we're not featured in it. If I was to learn more about it, I'm sure I could train it on our faces and give it some reference material of me and you, and put us in some absolutely insane AI created scenarios. So that might be coming at some point, but it's just absolutely mind boggling the pace that this technology is moving forward. And it's terrifying. So I don't like AI really. I can see how it's useful, but also I see how it is putting me out of a job.
Well, I mean, it is definitely useful. Like you said, I was away and you were short of time, and we had a concept that we couldn't have pulled off in that time with the budget that we have. No. I mean, let's be clear, if we got something like that commissioned, it would cost hundreds of pounds, and we only make about £20 in advertising revenue from a video like this. Yeah. So it opens up opportunities, but it also opens up a lot of questions around the ethics of...
It does.
Stealing, co-opting content, and indeed removing work from other illustrators. But of course, Brad is our illustrator, so the only person that really lost out was Brad, and he's being paid anyway. So that was sort of my thinking of it. But it's not something we want to do too often. We did it. We've only done one AI thing before, which was the hazy IPA one, but that was very much a stylistic choice because of the topic we were talking about.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one.
Yeah, so it's an interesting one, and one that we probably shouldn't try to tackle when we're an hour long. But it would be interesting to hear people's views on it,
Definitely,
and how AI could be used for good in the beer world, outside of people trying to get AI to spit out homebrew recipes.
You know where I thought it'd be useful, Johnny, is if we're doing. I know we've got to wind things up, but when we're talking about this kind of history stuff, we don't have archive footage to work with, right? So I thought, it would be cool if we did like, Seidel Meyer kind of guy, like an image of someone
building a fridge with cardboard.
Yeah. And like then just sort of zooming into it and stuff. You could totally flesh out bits and use it to tell a story. Which there's a guy called something 52 that does that really well. I can't remember what he's called, but he tells lots of long form stories with like AI generated imagery. Thoughts 52, that's what the guy's called.
All right, I'll give him a look.
Yeah.
We're going to bring Carl von Linde back from the dead, or
that's it.
Or we'll bring back Anton Dreher and ask him just how influential he was.
Yeah.
That might be a little bit further down the AI progression, but we'll get there.
We'll get there.
Right, that's all we've got time for this week. We have another episode on Beers That Changed the World coming next week, which will involve us doing something we never thought we would ever do in the Craft Beer channel, which is drinking a bottle of Budweiser. So join us for that as we dig into the incredible history of what is one of the most important brands in American history, and indeed some pretty wild stories as we go through. You'll also notice I have been uploading sporadic shorts. We're trying to dip our toe into that world. We've got some stuff that's sort of based off of content we've already made and promoting my book, but I've also got a collection of 60-second beer reviews that we're going to be trialing over the next couple of weeks, putting those out into the world as well. So lots going on in the craft beer channel world, including my event on the 6th of November. Last couple of places remain if you want to come to my book launch, and we do have other events which will be plastered on social hopefully this week or this weekend or start of next week at the beer shop in Hitchin and in London, and one in Manchester and one in Lincolnshire of all places. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, we'll see you on Wednesday with tales of our trip to 5 Points' Green Hop Festival tonight. Love and beer. The Bubble and Friday 5pm podcasts are brought to you by the nerds behind YouTube's Craft Beer channel. You can watch over 400 mini documentaries at youtube.com/the Craft Beer channel, and if you love what we do, support us via Patreon and get access to merchandise and our amazing Discord forum, a positive and welcoming space for everyone who loves beer, food and homebrewing. Love and beer.